Live from the Average Joe Nation studios in St. Clair, Missouri. This is the Average Joe Podcast, a show that proves that in this crazy world, a combination of common sense and a C-plus average is actually a superpower. Sure, he's crazy, but what if he's right? Please welcome your host, Damon Gilbert.
Hello there. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you're at. We've got a few things to discuss today. Things that I found interesting. Some of it happened over the weekend, but it's some amazing stuff. Anyway, I wanted to clarify something for people who are just maybe just started listening. I don't have a lot of followers yet, so if you do enjoy what you're hearing or you find it entertaining, and think somebody else would like to hear it, just pass it along to them. Maybe forward it to them in an email or an instant message, however you want to do it, or just give them my website address. That would work well. And I just want to thank everybody for listening. Again, I want to stress that this is therapy for me, so I appreciate it. I do. If someone's listening, that's fine. It doesn't have to be. I'm not trying to be Joe Rogan here, okay? And I'm sure some people are going, well, you're definitely not Joe Rogan. Well, that's true. That's true. I'm not. I have no experience in this particular industry, so I'm not claiming that I do. But I do have a lot of things on my mind, and I have a little common sense. And I think I bring something to the table when I have that, because if you're talking to someone else with common sense, you can kind of see eye to eye on a few things. So again, I thank you for that, and we'll get into what I wanted to talk to today. I don't know if you saw this article or this story, but a guy named Luc Brunel died in prison over the weekend. He committed suicide, apparently, or that's what they're trying to tell us, and that's part of the story I'm going to get to right quick. He was a friend of Jeffery Epstein, and if you remember, and if you don't, then you must have been under a rock somewhere or on a deserted island, because Jeffrey Epstein was involved in trafficking minors, basically. Some would call him a pedophile. I think that word's been overused because we've dismissed it, we've watered it down. Pedophilia is a little bit different than sex trafficking. And for one thing, I don't think it was all for him, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But nonetheless, Jeffrey Epstein in 2019 actually had to go to jail in New York City in a federal penitentiary. And somehow or other, even though he was on suicide watch, now he was taken off suicide watch is what the story they're trying to tell us. And somehow or other, he killed himself, hung himself in a prison cell. I'm not sure what he did, if he braided toilet paper together and was able to strangulate himself, because most people don't understand how strangulation works. I mean, I'm no expert in it, I'm no pathologist, but I mean, a quick Google search will tell you how this works. You don't have to snap the neck. People think that when you drop, you see the gallows and somebody's hung, they think that snapping the neck's what this is all about. It's not. It's not. All you got to do is cut off the carotid artery to the brain, and the guy, he passes out, and then he suffocates. It's pretty simple. It really is. I mean, if you've ever seen anybody be put in a chokehold, basically all it does is it just cuts off the blood to the brain for a second, and you just basically pass out. Now, if you keep that chokehold in force, you could strangulate them, but I mean, most people that know what they're doing can do it and make the guy pass out or the woman pass out, and then they wake up with a headache a couple of minutes later. So Jeffrey Epstein, he didn't do a backflip off of his bed. I don't know if you know. I've looked it up. I've done some research on this. If you're in federal penitentiary, in jail of any kind for that matter, and you're under suicide watch, they limit just about everything you have access to. First of all, the clothes you're wearing are either impossible. They're built so that you can't make a knot out of them. Okay, either that or they're made out of paper, and they won't hold together in order to make a noose or anything. Okay, your food is checked. You have no utensils. There are no like protruding objects from the ceiling. No light fixtures. No doorknobs. Your bed is basically laying on the floor. The mattress, you can't cut it in order to make a noose out of it. There's a lot of ways to prevent this. Now, they say that actually makes people more depressed than they are. You know, a suicide person doesn't want to be depressed anymore. So they say this actually is productive. But the point is that at the end of the day, Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. Okay, we all know that. The official story was that somehow or other, he was able to put together something that he could tie around his neck, and no one was watching him. You're actually supposed to check on these guys every 15 minutes. That's what they're doing to his girlfriend, that Maxwell gal, Ghislaine. They check on her every 15 minutes. Now, her lawyer is upset because he says that that's cruel and inhumane punishment. I don't know about that. I guess it's something to visit later, but she's on suicide watch as well. So they're checking her every 15 minutes to make sure she's alive. In Jeffrey Epstein's case, they didn't do that. They, from what I understand, is they took him off suicide watch the very night that he killed himself. Which, come on, really? You really believe that? Does anybody actually believe that? Because I don't. But nonetheless, he's dead. He took all of his secrets with him, supposedly, even though he left massive amounts of information that we will never know about. Because, folks, I can tell you right now, this Luc Brunel was killed probably by the same guy that killed Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, this pedophilia, or not pedophilia, but I'm doing the same thing that the rest of us, the rest of the news do. They use that word over and over again. Sex trafficking. Okay, he wasn't a pimp. He was actually procuring underage women for political people, entertainment people, people in high finance, government especially. And all these guys, usually men, because it was underage women, they were taken to an island where they could do what they wanted with these women. Now, there were flight logs that have to be filed when you fly a plane. You have to know who's on the plane. Bill Clinton's been there several times. Hillary Clinton's been there. Countless sports icons. You're talking about entertainment people, high powerful political people. So we don't ever hear about those people. They have the books. They have the names of these people. That's never going to be given to anyone. Even in this Maxwell's last trial that she was found guilty of, they struck that from the record. All the people who were involved in this, who were the Johns, so to speak, all eliminated. No one will ever know unless somebody steps up to the plate and starts doing something about this. So they wanted this guy dead. They wanted Epstein dead. They held all. See, the way they do this, this is about control. Okay, if I can catch my enemy doing something illicit and I can have proof of it, maybe a videotape, I can control him, and that's what this is all about. That's all it's about. That's all it's ever been about. It's not about money. They act like this guy was procuring people for Jeffrey Epstein personally. Of course not. What, thousand women? I mean, this guy is in his 60s. Give me a break. He's not going to be able to use 1,000 women himself. So this was for other people. People are missing that point. It was for other people. It had nothing to do with him. I'm not saying he didn't take advantage of some of these women, but I mean, you've got the prince. He's in trouble. England. Can't remember his off the top of my head. Doggone it, that makes me mad. But nonetheless, people in high places. Okay, that's who wants this gone. They want this. They want these people shut up. I'm surprised myself that Ghislaine Maxwell is still alive. I don't know what the story is there. I can't figure that one out. Have they not been able to get to her? I don't understand. But see, America's not curious. We just take this as the facts. Okay, well, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself and his buddy killed himself. Okay, what's for dinner? No one asks any questions. It's amazing. I mean, I'm not saying no one does. Obviously, you're probably curious. I'm curious. I would like to know about that. I would like to know more about this. Where are all the women's rights folks? Shouldn't they be stepping up to the plate going, hey, we need to know who did this. We need to know who the customers were, right? Why wouldn't the women activists in the United States be interested in it? Shouldn't they be protesting or something? I don't understand it. We're just going to let this go? I don't understand that kind of logic. I really don't. But I mean, when it comes to killing someone, apparently it's not a big deal. Apparently you can get away with this if you've got the right amount of money and the right connection. Because there's no way anybody got in to kill Jeffrey Epstein without there being some kind of massive cover-up. Or this guy, Brunel, he was in a France federal prison. You know how hard it is to get into one of those just to visit someone? Much less walk in there and kill someone and get out with no one seeing you. I mean, for instance, in Jeffrey Epstein's case, where's the closed circuit TV footage of who was in the hallway? These places are videotaped. Everything's videotaped. Everything. There's all a record. Why don't we know who walked by his cell during that particular time? Same thing with this Brunel. They say, well, we didn't have any closed caption of the cell. Well, no kidding. Okay, why you didn't, I don't understand, because he's supposed to be under a suicide watch. Why not check the closed caption for who walked past his cell in that cell block? Why that? Why not have that? I don't get it. We have no curiosity in this country anymore. None. Journalists don't do their job. They don't ask questions, and they certainly don't follow up. This is a great story. It really is, and nobody's going to touch it. And speaking of other great stories, we're going to turn the page here. Bob Saget, okay, the comedian, the guy from Full House, dad, the America's Dad for several years, until Bill Cosby took over, and then look where that went. Okay, so Bob Saget, apparently, the story they're trying to sell me is that he fell in his motel room. He was out on the road doing stand-up, doing stand-up routines for, I'm not sure where it was at, but nonetheless, it really doesn't matter. They're trying to tell me that he hit his head on, now what they're telling me now is he hit his head on the bedpost, or on the bed headboard, okay? And I guess hard enough to kill him, but he was fine to just lay down, put the covers over him, and lay his hand on his chest, and he dies. Doesn't wake up, okay? When I first heard this, I really didn't care. Bob Saget, here. I never particularly cared for this guy. From what I've heard, he's got a stand-up routine that's as foul-mouthed as Red Fox's was back in the 60s. But nonetheless, I didn't really care. Never thought he was funny. He was okay on that show. Whatever. Doesn't matter what I think. Bob Saget, whatever. Dead at 64 or whatever. All right. Unfortunate. I never really paid much attention to it. And then it kept popping up. Every other day, you'd see something about Bob Saget. Bob Saget this, Bob Saget that. They found this, they found that. I was like, this is kind of weird. So I did a little research on it, started looking into it. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've got a pathologist that says that this guy was hit so hard that it was the equivalent of being pummeled by a baseball bat or a 30-foot fall. Now, you're telling me he was hit hard enough, he fell. How do you fall into a bed headstand or a headboard and do enough damage that it looks like you were hit with a baseball bat? From what I understand, his eye socket was even caved in. Sounds like to me somebody else did that, right? I'm just saying. Here. Now, the pathologist and the coroner are saying, oh, it's natural causes, no big deal, nothing to see here. Now, how many detective shows have you watched? I've watched hundreds, maybe thousands. Who's the first person they look at when a husband dies? Who's the first person? That's right, the wife, the spouse, okay? Now, the spouse, in this case, is trying to prevent the coroner's report from being released. I find that strange. Why would you care? She says it's going to cause irreparable harm to her family. I don't understand how that would be possible. You know your husband's dead. Now, from what I understand, he was he liked to dally in the prostitution area, from what I understand. I could be wrong on this, but I've seen stories by people that know him that said he had a kind of a fascination with ladies of the evening. Now, does that mean that they killed him? No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is he may have a secret life no one knows about. So, you think we ought to look into this a little bit more? Because I don't know how you kill yourself and cause enough damage, or not kill yourself, but I mean if you fall and accidentally hit your head on a headboard, how those injuries can resemble being beat with a baseball bat. Don't get it at all. All right. Just to, if you want to get right into this, is Jeffrey Epstein really dead? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if I found out he was still alive. Same thing with this Luc Brunel. It wouldn't surprise me. Do you think Prince is dead? Do you really think he is? Do you think Michael Jackson's dead? I'm not saying that they didn't overdose. I'm not saying that didn't happen. What I'm saying is that if you can get away with killing someone in a federal penitentiary, and you can get access to a person who is on suicide watch, then you've got quite a bit of power and money. How much money did Prince have? He had a lot. Okay. How much money did Michael Jackson have? He had a lot, but he had a lot of problems as well. What I'm getting at here is, if you want to disappear in this country, you can do it. Okay. You can do that. But no one has any curiosity anymore. They just assume that the people in charge are telling the truth. And the longer I live, the less I believe any of that. All right. If it doesn't make sense, now in Prince's case, I don't know. Obviously I didn't know him. All I could do is read about him, things like that. Same thing with Michael Jackson. How about Marilyn Monroe? You think she committed suicide? I mean, she was supposed to have taken a whole bottle of barbiturates, but her housekeeper says she couldn't take one pill at a time because she had this terrible gag reflex that prevented her from taking pills, which I think is funny. A gag reflex, she's got a problem with gag reflex, and she's Marilyn Monroe. But I'm just saying, and you know where I'm going with that, right? So, but nonetheless, barbiturates killed her, supposedly. Now, is there a way to introduce that into the body, forcefully? Absolutely. There's lots of ways to do this. That's why I don't understand why people don't have a little more curiosity. They just take it for, that it's a fact that A or B killed themselves. Kenneth Lay, another one, president of Enron. Okay? A week before he's going on trial, dies of a heart attack. I've heard stories that he's living in Argentina. People have actually seen him. All I'm saying here is, I don't buy any of this. I really don't. And unfortunately, I have no access to it. And I don't think there's a journalist alive, in the United States at least, that's going to investigate this. They just don't care. They say, well, end of story. End of story? How is that even possible? Why would you say that? End of story? No. Jeffrey Epstein had a clientele that reached into some of the most powerful people in the world, and nobody's touching. So you wonder why there's sexual trafficking in the United States. I can tell you why, because there's a lot of sick people out there. All right, and these rich and famous think they're above the law. It's just the way it works. So anyway, that's all I got today on that. Again, I find that fascinating. I really do, and I find it fascinating that that no one has any interest in it whatsoever. We just write the story, and that's it. So I don't know. There is one other thing, and I want to bring up before I finish up with this. Bob Saget said something in October of last year. All right, he was doing a podcast. Him and his wife do a podcast, and it says Saget's here for you, and he does it with his wife Kathy, and they were discussing Saget's proclivity for here was the quote: head bashing gangster movie. Saget had mentioned some of his favorites: The Godfather, Scarface, Casino, and Goodfellas. Then this guy said something really strange, and I've heard the podcast, and it is a little odd. I didn't see it, so they're saying that he stared. He did it expressionless. I didn't see that, but he said, "So I don't have long to live if these are my favorites. I'm going to be found dead in bed," Saget said, with an expressionless stare. It said he was not joking. His tone was clearly serious. Remember, Saget was not known for drifting into expressionless, dark routines to get a laugh. So I find that a little odd. I do. This guy almost predicted his own death. Is that proof that he was killed? Absolutely not. But it makes you curious, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Behind the scenes, don't you say to yourself, "That's weird"? Yeah, I do. But that's just me. So maybe I'm the only one out there. You can let me know. All right, we're going to get to the news. I'll be right back.
If you think he's crazy, then what do we consider the rest of the world? You're listening to the Average Joe Podcast with Damon Gilbert.
All right, the first item I want to get to is our beloved leader, Biden, Joseph Biden. He has agreed to meet with Putin if Russia doesn't invade Ukraine. What are we, 12 years old? I'm going to come over to your house if you don't say mean names, mean things about me. What is this? What is this? What a wuss. He agrees to meet with Putin if Russia doesn't invade Ukraine. Wow. So that's it all hinges on whether or not, Biden, I guess meeting Biden is so overwhelmingly important that Putin would be willing to give up everything he's planned in order to meet with Joe. What a ridiculous statement. This guy he amazes me every time he opens his mouth. He really does. Let's see. Canadian police freeze 206 financial products, including bank and corporate accounts. Yeah. This is because of the truckers up there. This is because of Trudeau. The dictator Trudeau, okay? Now, Trudeau, apparently truck drivers are bad, but BLM and Antifa are good. Apparently, that according to the things that he's done over the last couple of years. I tell you what, Canadians, you elect this clown again, I don't feel sorry for you. You elected him twice. I barely feel sorry for you now, okay? You need to get rid of this guy. Whether it be a coup or whatever, I don't know, but you need to get rid of this guy. He's going to cause nothing but trouble. And all it is it's putting us in a bad spot down here in the United States too. Yeah, because because Biden's going to show you how tough he is. If Trudeau got away with it, I guess I can get away with beating people for no reason. So anyway, let's see, number 3, Trump's social app debuts today on President's Day. And apparently, from what I understand and what I've seen, I've tried to go on there. The website's overwhelmed with people trying to get on there. So that should be interesting over the next couple of weeks. They'll have to fix some bugs and stuff, but I think it'll be something to behold. I really do. Let's see. Police arrest 494 people in California on a week. Well, in a week-long human trafficking sting during the Super Bowl. Okay, great. Why did we wait until Super Bowl to do this? Is my question. I mean, human trafficking out in California is just horrible. I mean, as a matter of fact, International Labor Organization says 24.9 million people are trapped in human trafficking around the world. 99% of them are women, and not a word from the women rights groups. Not a word. Not a single word. So I just let you know what they're really interested in. It's all about politics and money. It has nothing to do with people who are on the ground. It just doesn't. Number 5, small businesses are raising prices to keep up with inflation. No kidding. There's a real news flash. I don't even know this is a story, but it's true. I have a small business. I'm going to have to raise prices myself. You can't keep up with it. Now when gas is $5 a gallon in Los Angeles, and believe me, if you think that's not coming here, you're crazy in the Midwest. It's going to, because it's going to happen here in the spring. Refineries shut down for maintenance, and demand increases. So you'll see more of this. Let's see here. 1 dead and 5 injured after mass shooting at Portland Antifa gathering. Well, there's a surprise. They're shooting themselves now. Okay, they're blaming it on this reporter, but that's bullshit. That's BS. That's not true. And what's funny is these are the same people that want to defund the police, and they're pissing and moaning because they had to wait 20 minutes for an ambulance to arrive. Oh, really? You're upset about that? Well, I'm flabbergasted that it took 20 minutes. I'm surprised it didn't take 20 hours to get there. I'm surprised you could get anybody to go to there at all. Who wants to walk into this thing? Antifa? Come on. I'm surprised I got anybody to go. Let's see. Number 7, Biden administration. Speaking of high gas prices, Biden administration suspends new oil and gas leasing. All right. There's some disagreement on why. He says it's on legal grounds, whatever, but I can guarantee you $5 gallon prices are coming to a town near you in the very near future. Just hang on to that thought, because I guarantee it's coming. Let's see. The Defense Department says the Biden administration brought unvetted Afghans to the U.S. Many were flagged with security concerns and cannot be found. How about that? Yet we left Americans behind. And he says it was a raving success. I don't even know how to respond to that. Biden's an idiot. He's crazy. And we're going to get into some more about who actually runs the Biden administration. I've got a story tomorrow you're going to want to listen to, because it gets into the nitty gritty. I can tell you who's doing it, who's pulling the string. Okay. Number 9, Ottawa police are, as I commonly refer to them, UN soldiers, mercilessly beat a truck driver after he peacefully surrendered. Okay? I don't know if you've seen the video. You can go on Twitter. Twitter, for God's sake. They're the ones that'll kick you off for saying anything about the 2020 election, but you can show a guy getting beat to death. Well, they didn't beat him to death, but the point is, it's violent. It violates the terms of service, and they leave those up. But God forbid you talk about the 2020 election. It's amazing. Anyway, these are UN soldiers. Anybody tells you any different is lying to you. These are not your average run-of-the-mill police officers in Ottawa City. It's not. These are UN soldiers. That's why they've got their masks on, so you can't identify them. That's simple. These guys don't have any numbers on their jerseys or on their uniforms. Nothing. Yeah. So don't let anybody kid you. These are hired guns that were brought in by Trudeau to put down this so-called uprising. Okay, this I guess revolt, whatever you want to call it, or insurrection. We like that word, insurrection. Okay, it's an insurrection. So they're bringing this up. That's who they're bringing in to do their dirty work. I guarantee you they'll find that out as time goes on. Somebody will squeal on this. Okay, these are not your guy that works that walks a beat in Ottawa. They're not. These are thugs. There's no other way to put it. Okay. Let's see. Oh, by the way, get ready for a 4th COVID shot. It may be on the horizon for Americans this fall. Well, there's a surprise. You think they're going to try and drag this out a little bit? I think they are. I hope. Well, they're going to try and do it before the election in 2022. That's what they're going to do. They're going to try. They're going to make it so that they try the mail-in ballots, all that. It's a lame attempt at this, but you're talking about a 4th COVID shot. Now, what I find funny about this is, if you think that this is a good idea, I want to go over something with you right quick. and then we'll be done for today. Queen Elizabeth, okay? She was diagnosed the other day. Now, she's in her 90s. She was diagnosed the other day with COVID, all right? She's been triple vaxxed and a booster, okay? She's probably, one of the people on the planet who is kept away from the general public. It's not like Queen Elizabeth goes down to the Dollar General and buys toilet paper, okay? She just doesn't. She never goes out with the scum of the earth, the citizens of England. She would never be seen. So, and you know as well as I do that everybody that works there has probably been required to be vaccinated. So she's been triple vaxxed, booster shot, is kept basically in solitary confinement, and she still gets it. She still gets the virus. So that tells you there's no escaping from this, and that the vaccinations do not, in fact, work. Now, what people will tell you is, yes, but she probably won't get it as severe than if she wasn't vaccinated. That, my friends, I've been doing some research on that too. There is no proof to that. That is a wives' tale. That is manufactured. That is a manufactured story, because I've been looking at this. They have not done any kind of clinical research on this. What they are doing is what they're calling it overwhelming evidence, but it's based on observational study. Now, if you know anything about this, and I don't know much about it, but it makes sense. If you don't do peer-reviewed research, it's pretty hard to prove anything. And usually, you can prove just about anything you want if it's not peer-reviewed. So at the end of the day, when people tell you that, that's not true. It's not true. It's manufactured, basically. So at the end of the day, get the vaccine if you want to. It's a free country still, at least on February 21st it is, of 2022, as far as I know. But at the end of the day, it doesn't work. And if you've got 3 people in the room, 2 are vaccinated, why do you care whether or not the third guy is vaccinated? You're supposed to be. I mean, let me go back to this. And I want to make one point here before I go. People tell me, say, "Well, you wear a seatbelt, right? Why do you wear a seatbelt?" And I always say, because it works. That's why. Why did I get my vaccinations when I was a kid? Because they work. When's the last time you ran into anybody that's got polio or caught polio or tuberculosis? Okay? I mean, mumps, rubella, measles. That all works. This one does not. Okay? And we still don't know what's in it, and we may never know what's in it. So I'm a little leery of taking something that has no research done on it. And believe me, the FDA has been paid off by Big Pharma. They've been that way for years. Just the way it works. So just want to leave you with that thought. 3 people in a room, 2 are vaccinated, 1 is not. Why are the 2 that are vaccinated going crazy and claiming that he's trying to kill grandma? I don't get it. But that's just me. All right. Well, we will talk again tomorrow. I've got a lot to say. It's going to be a wonderful week. And remember, it's February 21st, and Joe Biden is still the worst president in American history. Let's go, Brandon.
As always, thanks for listening to the Average Joe podcast. Be sure to check out our website at www.averagejoenation.media and follow us on social media. Remember, if you haven't told all your friends, you're wrong. As always, thanks for listening to the Average Joe podcast. Be sure to check out our website at www.averagejoenation.media and follow us on social media. Remember, if you haven't told all your friends, you're wrong.